Hey, welcome to Bifocal. Today is another show in our business series, and we're going to be talking about digital marketing and the impact that it's having on companies. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. In today's show, we're going to talk about all the impact that digital marketing is having on companies today. And not just on the companies, but also even on the sales reps that work for companies. And I've been exposed to this for a while now, and I'm finding it pretty interesting, this whole digital marketing and the impact that it's really having on companies, and some of the changes that it's requiring companies to do. You know, when you think of digital marketing, and it means a lot of things to different people, but and the goal of the show today is really not to get technical, but really just to kind of talk in a very high level view, because I find it kind of interesting. But when you think of digital marketing, you think of Google ads and the pay-per-click and SEO and SEM and email marketing and blogging and just all that stuff that goes into that. And I think that type of marketing is really having an impact on what it's doing on the back end for companies. For example, when we started down the digital marketing path, and let me just kind of bring you up to speed real quick, kind of how we got into it at my company. We did no digital marketing whatsoever. Actually, we did no marketing at all. And then we decided through a series of events and circumstances, we decided, hey, I think we need to start moving down this path. And so we took $1,000 and we said, hey, let's go see what we can do out on Google with, spending $1,000. And we didn't know anything about it. And so we spent $1,000 and went out and put some keywords out there and thought that's how you do it. And didn't get a lot of traffic. And we did that for a couple months, and then all of a sudden, another individual in the company decided that they would take it over and said, hey, let me take a shot at this. So we kind of moved some responsibilities around, and what we ended up finding that this whole Google marketing and Google ads and pay-per-click and digital marketing, it got to be pretty complex. And once we started to get our arms around it, we started to really start to see some traffic. And the more we got into it, the more complex it got, but the more traffic, the more return we started to get. And so we were spending $1,000, and after a couple months, like I said, we didn't get anything. And then all of a sudden, we started to get our arms around it a little bit, and we started to get some traffic. The one thing that we did inside the company was, when we started down this path of digital marketing and the Google ads, and we made sure that our CRM system was set up from the very beginning to track everything that was coming through all of our campaigns. That was pretty critical for us because, as I'll share in a little bit, that's really what made this successful for us. And so from the very start, we made sure that all of our forms on our website were tied into CRM, which we use Salesforce. We made sure that everything was tracked through Salesforce. We tracked everything that we did. And as we began to progress through, that was how we were able to easily show what the return was that we were getting from these efforts. And so we tracked everything from just how many click-throughs we were getting, how many impressions we were getting, how many visits to our websites, how many form fills from our website, how many appointments we were getting, where the leads were coming from, how many of our appointments turned into proposals, how many of the proposals turned into closed sales. And we could track this from A to Z. And we set that up at the very beginning. And so as we started to get our arms around this, and as we started to start seeing some leads coming through and our sales reps responding, we were easily able to go back and say, we spent X, here's what happened with that X dollars, and here's the end result that we have now. And so as we started seeing some of that traffic come through, it was working. So we said, hey, here's another $1,000. So now we spent $2,000. And same thing. The more money we spent, the more impressions I got, the more click-throughs I got, the more form fills I got, the more appointments I got, the more proposals I got, the more closed deals I got. And it was fairly significant as far as the end result relative to the investment. And so then we said, well, hey, let's spend $4,000. So now we were spending $4,000 a month. Same thing. The more money we spent, it was the ratio of return was about the same. And so we said, well, hey, let's spend $6,000. Let's spend $8,000. Let's spend $10,000. Before we knew it, we were spending six figures a year on digital marketing. But the only reason we got to that point was because we tracked it every step of the way. It became so tangible that we knew for every dollar we spent, I knew exactly what the ROI was on that dollar, and I could track it back. So it became a no-brainer for making those marketing budget decisions because I knew where the return was. That's what I want to talk a little bit about in this show. And this won't be a long show today, but when companies move down this marketing path, this digital marketing path, and keep in mind, I am not a marketer. I'm just not a marketer. I believe in it tremendously, but it's because of the brief story that I just shared. And there's a lot more to it than what I just shared, but it really opened my eyes. But here are a couple things that I think companies need to keep in mind as they start to pursue marketing and even their sales in general. You have to be set up on the back end to track this. You can't go out and spend dollars and just hope things come through. They may, but you got to really track what are you setting up on Google? What are those keywords? What are those campaigns? What are those times of days? And it gets a lot more complicated than that, but you have to track that daily. And Google ends up changing a lot of the algorithms on the back ends. And so you could be getting results this month and all of a sudden next month, the results aren't there and you're not sure why. It's a constant managing and a constant monitoring to get the results. And if you're going to spend the dollars, you have to get set up to do that. We did that and it worked. And so I think the advice I could give companies is make sure that if you're spending dollars on digital marketing, whatever it may be, everything from your SEO, your website, to Google Ads, email campaigns, whatever it may be, you have to be set up to track that. And it's not rocket science, but it does take a little bit of time and it takes a little bit of cost and effort to get it done. But I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to do that. You're investing dollars. You have to understand where's the investment going and what am I getting from it? What's working, what's not working? It's kind of like being in the stock market. If it's working over here, I want to put more money over here. If it's not working here, I got to get that money out and free it up to put it over where it's working. And so setting up in CRM to be able to track that is very important. And I don't know if companies are doing that to the level that they need to or the level that they should. And the reason I say that is because that's a lot of the feedback that we get when we talk to companies and as I'm talking with them. They'll just share things like, well, yeah, we're doing Google ads and we're doing all the pay-per-click, and yep, we got managing our SEO on our website. But when you start asking questions about, how's it working? Where's your traffic coming from? How much traffic are you getting? Can you track back a sale to a campaign? A lot of them can't do that. I'm here to say you got to get to that point. You have to measure that. Another key thing that's very important is I think this whole digital marketing thing is changing the role of the sales rep. And I think we're losing the art of selling. And I see it firsthand. I see it from customers. I've witnessed it internally within our own organization. Just some of the pitfalls that we've run into. For example, when we went down this whole digital marketing path, it started generating activity for us that we hadn't seen before. It was a new stream of inbound leads, which, the only inbound leads we got before was referrals, but it was a steady flow. You're getting to the point where you're getting 2 and 3 of very qualified inbound leads every day. And the difference with these inbound leads, these are people that are in the market. They're people that are out, they're looking for your service, they're looking for your product. Generally, they have a budget, right? That's why they're out looking. And so by the time they come to you, they're often a qualified prospect. Now, they may not be an ideal prospect for you, and not every lead that comes in is a 10 out of a 10. But it wasn't uncommon for us, and still today, that we might get 2 or 3 of those a day, and then you have to weed through those. But these are people coming to you that have a specific need, they have a budget, they have a time frame, and often the person that's you're talking with is a decision maker. Here's another area that I think companies got to start putting time to. Where are these leads going? Not only are you spending money up front in this whole digital marketing and trying to attract leads, now, as I suggested, you have to spend money to track them. So I'm spending money to get them. I got to spend money to track them. And now that I have them coming in and I'm tracking them, I have to be sure they're being followed up on, and they're being followed up on with the right personnel that is qualified to do that. It's kind of like if you're in the ninth inning and there's 2 outs, you got to put somebody up to bat that you're very comfortable can hit the ball. I think what happened to us internally, and I see it with other companies, these leads are starting to come in. It's easy for your sales reps to become order takers. They're not really selling anymore. They're following up. Hi, John, this is Mary or Jim, and I understand you reached out to us. I'm following up. What is your need? Yep, we can do that. How soon you looking? What's your time frame? Yep, how many do you need? I think we're losing the art of selling. We have to make sure that your sales rep is very qualified to take these inbound leads. These leads are valuable. These leads are from qualified prospects. You spent money on these leads. I need to make sure I'm putting my best foot forward when I'm following up with this individual. And I think this whole digital movement, it's weakening our sales reps. And over the last year inside our company, we've spent a lot of time and effort in trying to make sure that isn't happening. I think, as I mentioned earlier, we're losing the art of selling. I think sales reps need to quit selling. That doesn't even sound right, does it? Sales reps need to quit selling. Well, what do I mean by that? I think sales reps, and often inexperienced sales reps, they're so eager when they get somebody on the phone, they're so eager to make a sale that they're so focused on just sharing with that prospect everything they have to offer. They're really not spending the time to get to the heart of that prospect's need. As soon as they hear the prospect's need, the sales reps are too quickly moving down the road of, well, let me tell you how we solve that. Let me tell you a little bit about our product. Let me tell you about our service. Here's how we do that. Rather than, tell me about your need. Why do you have that need? We got to dig deeper with these prospects. We can't just all of a sudden start shooting our service, start vomiting what we do. I used to call that the machine gun approach. We're just firing bullets of everything we do. You know, I think there's a human tendency that if I'm talking to somebody and I'm just firing, I'm pushing on them, they're going to respond in a couple of ways. One, they're going to kind of back off because they're feeling like they're being pushed on. Or they're going to start pushing back because they feel they're being pushed on. Or they're just losing a little bit of trust in you because they're not feeling you're taking the time to really listen to them. Rather, when you're talking to a prospect, keep in mind, this is a qualified prospect that you spent dollars on to get. You spent dollars to track them. You need to spend dollars to close them. And spending dollars isn't just putting somebody on the phone to follow up with them. So when you're talking with that customer, I think we got to spend time on the who, what, when, where, how, and whys. What is your need? Tell me about that. Why is that your need? What has happened? Has something changed? Did this need just happen, or has this need been a need for some time? Why are you looking to solve it now? What have you done in the past? Why hasn't that worked? What do you think, Mr. Prospect, you need to do to solve this problem? Why do you think that will solve the problem? Have you done that before? Has that worked for you in the past? Why has it? Why hasn't it? Where is your biggest stumbling block? Why is that a stumbling block? It's this level of questioning, and I'm being pretty 10,000-foot view here, but it's that level of questioning that you really end up getting to the heart of the matter. And as I said, I think sometimes we're too quickly to get into our solution versus spending time on their need. Through a series of questioning, and it's not just a matter of just firing questions, it's a matter of talking, listening. We may end up finding out that the need is actually much bigger than the prospect thinks. We may end up finding out what the prospect thinks his or her need is really isn't their need. Their need is really something else, and you've gathered that through a series of questioning. And so the sales reps, I think this digital marketing has weakened, in many cases, it has weakened our sales process because we're becoming order takers. Sales reps got to get back to the craft of selling. We got to get back to asking questions. We got to get back to qualifying. When you think about what we're doing on the digital side, we're really doing the same thing. We're monitoring all of our campaigns. We're monitoring all of our keywords. We're monitoring all of the pay-per-click stuff. We're monitoring the SEO every day. If you're not, you're just wasting dollars. It's kind of like people think, I got to have CRM. A lot of people think just by having CRM, they're going to be better for it. Well, in fact, they're going to be worse for it because if they're not managing it, it just brings no value. It just brings headaches, and you're spending dollars with no value. The same on the digital marketing side. If you're not monitoring it every day, and it has to be monitored and managed by someone who that's what they do. You can't make your sales manager do it. You can't have a sales rep do it. You can't have an administrator do it. It has to be somebody that they get it. They understand it. That's what they do. And yep, it costs money. However, it costs money not to do it. If you're not effectively doing this, it costs money. You're losing opportunity costs by not driving people to your company. If you're spending the dollars and you're not managing them, you're just spending dollars. If you're spending dollars and you're spending them wisely and you're managing them correctly and you're tracking them correctly, but you're not spending it on the back end with that sales rep, that sales process, it's not going to work. I think one of the biggest things I have learned is that your sales and marketing process, it's like this. It's all woven together. Marketing, in my opinion, it's sales. If you're not treating your marketing department like a sales group, it's not working. Marketing has to be accountable for sales. They have to drive qualified people to your business. That's what they do. They're the front end part of it. They got to drive people to that. They're as important as the sales rep on the back end. And so as you're putting all this together, I think the purpose of this show today is to say you need to step back. If you're not an expert in this, you need to sit down with somebody who is so they can map this out for you. Don't be afraid that this is going to cost you way more than you can afford. It can cost you whatever you want to spend. As I shared with you, we started with $1,000. And we got to the point, and at first it was $1,000 wasted. But once we figured it out, that $1,000 generated a lot more than $1,000. And then it made sense to do $2,000. It made sense to do $4,000. And so on. So it's going to cost whatever you want it to cost. You don't have to all of a sudden spend six figures to do this. You start out small and get the process in place, get the people in place, because the reality is if you're not doing this today, you may not even have the right people in your company that can do this. Well, those are big decisions you have to make. But at the same time, you have to make these decisions. You have to generate leads and activity to your company, and digital marketing is a way to do that. But like sales, it's not just a matter of putting somebody on the phone and say, go sell. It's a lot bigger than that, and so is the digital side of it as well. And so what I wanted to talk about today was just kind of looking at that from a 10,000-foot view. If you're not attacking this with a very methodical, process-driven, strategic approach, then you're probably not doing it right. You can't just go through the motions. You're wasting dollars. Perhaps you could be spending, or perhaps you could spend the same dollars you're spending now do what I'm suggesting, spend no more money, and increase your return 2 and 3-fold. That's very possible. If what you're doing now isn't managed, and all of a sudden you give it to somebody now who knows how to manage that, they're probably going to give you a return that's much greater than you're getting now. So if you're spending dollars, probably the best place to start is, am I getting anything for that? And am I spending these dollars in the right places? And am I getting as much from that as I should? If you can't answer that, if you can't answer how many leads am I getting a day, where are they coming from, what's working, what's not working, how many people are hitting my website, what's my click-through rate, what's the impression, if you can't track all that, then you're missing something. All of those key data points are very important. Have you sat down to really listen to your sales reps on the phone? We do that here. We sit down and listen to them. I want to know, what are they saying on the phone? If I have a qualified lead that I spent money for, I spent money to track, and now all of a sudden they're talking to me, I want to make sure I'm spending the money wisely with that sales rep. Is he or she qualified to conduct this sales call? Are they doing the machine gun approach? Or are they asking a lot of the who, what, when, where, how, and whys? Customers will buy from people they're comfortable with. I think by going through and really digging deep with a customer and asking questions and really finding out what their need is, I think you give them a very comfortable feeling. I think they learn from you that you know what you're talking about by the level of questions that you're asking. That level of questioning provides credibility between you and the prospect. And it's definitely going to differentiate you from the competition. So spend the time in your marketing. Spend the time to know where your dollars are being spent. What are you doing with it? What's coming from it? Spend the time with your sales reps. Make sure you're comfortable they are qualified to close this prospect. They are qualified to truly qualify the prospect. That's what we do. That's what Dan Harsh and Associates does. That's what I'm doing now in my company. If you have a need and you want to talk to somebody that can maybe help guide you down some of that path, I invite you to give me a call, www.danharsh.com. I'd love to come out and talk to you about it. I'm not the technical guy, but I know how to pull all of this together. I've done it. I'm doing it. So, hey, thanks for listening today. I thought this was a good topic to kind of throw out there. And there's going to be more. We're going to be bringing some more experts and talking about this type of stuff. And we're going to have a lot of shows like this. So I invite you to stay tuned. Hey, thanks again.